Welcome to the First Time Facilitator podcast. Whether you're a first-time facilitator or a seasoned pro, listen in for tips and tricks to make a bigger impact at the next workshop you deliver. And now, your host, Leanne Hughes.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Leanne Hughes, and I'm here to help you design fast, deliver strong without the stress. Hey, I thought I'd just jump on and give a bit of an update and also provide at the end of this, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about myself, but hopefully when I do talk about myself, it's in the context of either inspiring you or just sharing what's going on behind the scenes. If you're curious around what it is like being a solopreneur and hosting your own show, being a content creator as well. At the back end of this episode, so after the update, I'll share something fun I've been working on with Alan Weiss. We've started a new broadcast. It's called Talk the Walk. Talk the Walk. We share why we call it that. And basically every 2 weeks, it's a live stream. It's a 23-minute live stream on LinkedIn and YouTube. So you can join us there. I think Thursday afternoon, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time if you're in the States, which is my Friday morning, 6:30 a.m. So you'll find me drinking a coffee. You'll find Alan drinking a martini. And a link to everything I'll mention is in the show notes for this one. So we just did a few sort of pre-recorded episodes just to get a feel for the show. The reason we're doing it, if you are a listener, a long-time listener of First Time Facilitator, you would have heard the first interview with Alan Weiss. It went off like so good and really just changed the whole trajectory of how I thought about being a consultant and hosting workshops and really realizing I could offer more. And I think many of us as facilitators, we kind of just define ourselves as people that host workshops, but we have a lot of knowledge and a lot of expertise that we can also share with our groups too. So yeah, that was a foundational episode. He's been back on the show 3 times and I thought it'd be fun just to release this one. I'm not going to release every Talk the Walk show on this podcast, so it's definitely worth tuning in on YouTube or LinkedIn. And if we're not connected there, please, I'd love to connect with you. So say hello. Okay, I guess so a big one in terms of updates, the book, it's been about a year now, just over a year since the book was released. I just checked Amazon then. So I've sold 3,984 copies on Amazon. Globally, ebook, paperback, etc., which is so, like, I don't know what the metric for success is, but I think it's more like that's great. It's a great thing to have that. That's not book sales alone. I've had a lot of sort of bulk orders through clients. That doesn't cover some of the audio book sales, sales on other platforms, of course. But super cool. And I didn't know, again, what is the benchmark here? I thought 10,000 was amazing. Apparently, though, if you self-publish and you can sell over 250 books, that's a great thing. Like most self-published books sell around 250. So yeah, it's more about the impact, I guess, and really based on the mission of this podcast is to just stamp out boring workshops around the world forever. And so this is one way of doing that. And I think what's been surprising about it is I thought, gosh, you record 200 episodes about podcasts, about workshops, surely that's all the information someone needs. But I think everyone likes the fact that it's been distilled into a sort of framework, the Spark framework, which is the end-to-end process for workshop design. Yeah, so it's just really great hearing from people that are using the Spark framework. And also what it's done is now I'm running 2-hour workshops, which it's like a sweet spot for me. There's a sport in Australia called cricket, and there's different ways you can play it. You can play like a 5-day test match, or you can play 20-20, which is 20 overs, which is a one sort of, very fast few hour type format. Then there's a 1-day format, and you find some players are better at different formats. And I think it's the same for us as workshop hosts. Some of you are brilliant at the multi-day events. That's definitely not me. I think a nightmare would be running like just a whole intensive 5-day plus event. I like the 2-hour workshop. I like the half-day format. I like full day as well. 2 days, yeah, great, but definitely just more of a impact player. So that's been great, writing a book around 2-hour workshops and then just getting to run them. And really based on different themes, not just on the train the trainer part and design, but using Spark to run engaging meetings, using Spark to build contribution for teams. So it's had different ways of the people viewing it, which has been fun. I also got to run a 2-hour workshop in Broome in Western Australia. So I used to live there. It's a very remote town, population of about 15 to 20,000 people, very hard to get to. The closest capital city is in Indonesia. It's not in Australia. It's about 2,500 kilometers from the state's capital city. So very remote. And I just flew back there, and it was really great because that's where I learnt. I did my first ever workshop in Broome. And I remember the amount of effort, like the weeks I spent designing that, and the fact that I could just then go back, 8 years later, and run my own content and spend very little time on designing it because I wrote the book on it, was really cool. So if you are spending lots of time designing workshops, let me tell you, you can speed that up. It's a skill, right? It's a skill that all of us have. Something I want to share just in terms of, because you're listening because you want ideas for workshops. This was a really fun one we did for a client. This is I think their 4th or 5th conference I've delivered for them. And this year the theme was flexibility. And every other conference has started sort of a typical way. We like to assign seating to get people from different teams working together. It's really about connecting them, breaking down silos. They work remotely, many of them. So it's building up that connection piece. We wanted to do something a bit kind of experiential as well. And so working with Lewis, the guy in marketing, he came up with this great idea. So I want to give him credit for this. So flexibility, I know the client through the dog park. So we met during the dog park. So our dogs hang out together every Saturday. So what we did was, in the spirit of flexibility, we shot a video of the client and I with our dogs at dog park one day, on like the Saturday. Then I edited a video that made it seem like it was a live broadcast, that we were actually live broadcasting from the dog park. I hope this makes sense as I describe it. Anyway, on the day of the conference, Catherine, she's the client, and we just did not show up in the morning. So we're hiding away while everyone's arriving. It's like 150 people there. They're asking, like, where is their managing director? No one's seen her. And they try to start, and then everyone knows that I'm emceeing it as well, but I'm not there either. So it's kind of creating this bit of uncertainty. And so they all sit down and everyone's sort of waiting for something to happen. So Lewis comes up and he's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Don't know where everyone is, but I've been told to hit play. So he hits play. Then it's a video of us at the dog park, as if it's a live broadcast, that we're there. We're enjoying the fact that we're flexible. And then the video sort of ends with, oh, did you know that everyone's at this conference right now? We should probably head over. So when that video stops, Catherine and I enter the conference in the same clothes we're wearing in that video, in our activewear, and she's got her dogs with her as well. So she's bringing 2 dogs into this conference. Anyway, it was just a really cool way to start it. Really fun to ramp up that theme of flexibility and bring it home. The only thing is, I just realized how much I need to be in that room before a session starts. And I often joke about getting to workshops obscenely early to set up and just get into it. And when I started, we walked in, I'm in my activewear, then I have to kick off an activity, kick it off. I felt so unsettled. I didn't feel planted in it. And it took maybe an hour to get me actually in the rhythm of it. So that was fun. The fact that, because, the flip side of flexibility is also resilience. Like, how do you deal with change and things like that too? So I was learning a bit there, and I was sharing that with the group as well. Like, hey, this is what it feels like to be flexible. Sometimes, though, it's nice to have your routine and your habits as well. That was fun. Doing a lot of, interesting work this year, a lot of variety outside of the 2-hour workshops and just workshop hosting. So a lot of advising, some team coaching, the red carpet experience virtually and in person as well, which is like the highlight of my year. Coaching, really fun gig, coaching some team leaders in Melbourne and how to build influence globally. Loved that. Just communicate differently, trying new ideas. They were all very open to hearing those ideas. And I'm just loving working with people and teams that are receptive to some X factor ways of working, as opposed to just going, oh yeah, that's cool, and then doing things normally. It seems now, I think this is my 5th year in business, that I'm attracting more of those sort of bold, fun people in my world. And I think that's because I guess my marketing is getting a bit more real. I'm being more of myself. If I was to say reflect on maybe some LinkedIn posts in the early days, possibly I'm holding back. I'm being more professional. Now I don't really mind. I'm just being myself. So you might notice that in some of my content, just like having a laugh, having fun, and just keeping it real, I guess. There's so much I could cover, a lot more in terms of reflections and lessons learned. Maybe I will at the end of the year, but wanted to look ahead and just share some cool things that are coming up in case you're interested in being part of it. So like I said, the live stream with Alan, that's a free virtual call every Thursday if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, Friday morning if you're in Australian time zone. Linked to, again, everything is in the show notes. Very cool opportunities coming up. It's 3rd of September. It's going to be the best day ever. in Brisbane, in the Brisbane Vegas, Michael Bungay Stanier and I are hosting a rooftop. It's a 2-hour workshop with a 2-hour after party in one of the best rooftop bars in Brisbane. It's going to be in spring. We've got about 122 people there already. So we've got an amazing group, like legends that have registered. So I'm like, oh, I'm so happy I'm hosting it. And like, obviously thrilled to be doing it with MBS, who is the author of The Coaching Habit, The Advice Trap, a ton of amazing books, just an incredible person. We met through the podcast as well. So the topic of that is how to face change. And we're going to be, of course, it's going to be interactive, it's going to be fun, but hopefully also provoke a lot of thinking as well. But I mean, like I said, I'm so thrilled to be hosting it, but I also am like, I just want to also connect with everyone there too. So I'm hoping can get to everyone, can have some of those deep conversations that afternoon too. So tickets are still available, though we are limited by capacity on the rooftop. There's been an incredible response. We have people flying in from New Zealand, from Western Australia, from Victoria, across Australia for this. So it's going to be amazing. Wait for that to happen. Then on the 30th of October, so speaking of Alan, I'm going to his workshop in Vegas on the 31st of October. On the day before, on the 30th, I'm hosting a small group experience. I'm thinking of limiting it to 7 people. It's going to be around this concept of return on luck, but also about building connections as well. And so that is going to be on the 30th of October in Las Vegas. Again, link or just email me, hello@leannehughes.com. You've got LinkedIn. It's going to be amazing. And it's not going to be, we're going to put you in a meeting room of, I'm not like that. We're going to have a Vegas experience, learn a lot, build a great community, because, the theme is connection and getting how to score great opportunities as well. That's coming up. And then also, shout out to Steve Demedio. We had a walk and talk the other week, and we've been looking at just once-in-a-lifetime learning experiences. And I did a post on LinkedIn around this. So a couple of ideas have popped up. One is running a 2-day sort of glamping. So that's, if you don't know, luxury camping, like a connection-type camp. Again, small group. So keeping it small, but really focusing on helping people that connect people. So if you're a community builder, facilitator, leader, anyone that wants to drive changing it, getting better at building trust instantly, you want new ways of doing things, activities, deep dives. You also want to be in a really cool place where you get to, I guess, not tune out, but somewhere, an inspiring location, I think, with incredible gourmet food. So we're going to host this. We're just figuring out a date. But again, reach out if you're curious around this. It's going to be in Southeast Queensland, I think an hour and a half from Brisbane. It's the most incredible spot. The photos are epic. So that will be fun, hosting that. Yeah, and just getting excited around. So another idea I had just while I'm here was Bangkok is my most favorite city in the world, but learning how to negotiate in Bangkok and going there. There's tailors there. You can get incredible suits and outfits made. So thinking of that as like a little mini mastermind experience as well, possibly in the new year too. So that's what's going on. I'm always looking for cool ways to drum up fun things to do. And so if you're interested in any of those, again, just reach out and let me know. So on that, I would like to share, this is the first episode of Talk the Walk. It's getting hard to, I kept calling it Walk the Talk. I'm like, no, it's Talk the Walk, and there's a reason why. Again, it's on YouTube, LinkedIn, all those platforms. So tune in, and hopefully we'll see you on a live call where you can ask your question or just like commentate what we're talking about as well. Thanks so much for listening. Key links are all in the show notes, leannehughes.com, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of it. You know where I am. Have an awesome day. Good evening, Alan.
Good evening.
Hey, welcome to the very first episode of something brand new. It's called Talk the Walk. Talk the Walk. I've got Alan Weiss here. Alan, what does Talk the Walk mean to you?
Well, people always say you should walk the talk. That is, demonstrate what you think people should be doing and you should be doing. But I think that you also have to talk the walk, which is explain your successes, talk about things that didn't work well. And especially if you're at all in the marketing business or professional services, if you don't blow your own horn, there is no music. And so if you've accomplished something, let people know.
Actually, I used your line. I had someone reach out because self-published a book last year. It's done pretty well. And a book publisher actually reached out and said, "Oh, I love that you were so proactive in doing that." And I said, "Yeah, well, my mentor always tells me you've got to blow your own horn or there is no music." So it's a very strong line that stuck with me. Hey, look, we're doing something new. We're experimenting here using this technology on something that's a really interesting new concept. What excites you about doing this show? Like, why did you sort of reach out about starting something like this?
Well, for one thing, you're the only person I know who speaks faster than I do. And so I think that's interesting. It keeps me sort of mentally fit. It's like going to the gym. I also think that we're in two different hemispheres, right? So we're completely around the world from each other, and we sort of see things from different angles. We are obviously, what can I say? We are obviously different genders. I think that's safe to say these days.
You can safely say that.
Yes. And, slightly different ages. So, but we get along fine. We really enjoy each other. And I think I think the synergy of that is going to be wonderful for our viewers. And if it's not, it's their fault.
It is, of course. I mean, I think the reason every time I do an episode with you, the amount of messages I get from people all around the world, like, that was so great. They learned so much. And sometimes it's even actually the first time they've even heard you share anything. And they're just so impressed that they join your sort of world. So I think it's really great that we get to have this sort of discussion and just dialogue around things and how we see things from our different hemispheres and perspectives as well.
So nobody says to you, Leanne, that was a great show, even with Alan, right?
No, it's actually the opposite.
Okay.
I was like, did you even realize I was on there? I was like, oh, do you know what I did to create that? No, I'm just joking. Really positive responses. So hopefully we can keep that up and keep the consistency going for others as well.
Yeah, so what's in it for you?
Honestly, just getting the chance to talk to you and also try something different out and add some life to what I'm doing. So I've been podcasting using very similar formats for a couple hundred episodes now. If you are seeing this online, you'll see that we're using a tool called StreamYard to stream this. It's pushing me out of my comfort zone. And I think to do that with a friend and someone that kind of despises technology is kind of fun too.
I'll buy that.
Excellent. So let's talk about this new, what we're keen to do is really sort of commentate some of the news that's out as well. And if it does work, I'm going to share my screen and just share a New York Times article that you were keen to sort of riff on. All right. It is this article here. They spent their life savings on life coaching. And just the quote, if you're listening to this through audio, we all think it'll never happen to us. That's the really scary part. Some people who wanted to improve their lives and careers through coaching found themselves trapped in what they described as a pyramid scheme. Alan, what stood out for you with this article?
Well, I want to emphasize the fact that this article is on life coaching. And maybe you know what life coaching is because I don't. But a couple of years ago, Marshall Goldsmith and I wrote a book together called Life Storming. I should have recorded the ideation sessions we had. They're amazing riffs. So Marshall at one point, bless his heart, says, look, Marshall, I'm the greatest executive coach in the world, he says, matter-of-factly. And he says matter-of-factly, and you, Alan, are the greatest entrepreneurial coach in the world. And so, we ought to write this book together and we ought to get, people in line for what works and what doesn't work. And as we're doing this, he says to me, do you know that most people who call themselves life coaches are women? And most of these people are starving to death. They're not making any money. So the article you cited is even worse. They're losing money to these pyramid schemes, But if you're a life coach and you don't have a life, what does this mean? You take your car to a mechanic who knows how to maintain cars. You want to ski, you go with somebody who's, certified by the Universal Ski Coach Association and can do black diamonds, even though you just want to go down bunny hills. I'll tell you one more thing that you're going to appreciate because you, like I do, speak a lot. You're sitting in an audience and here's a speaker who's divorced twice, who is a heavy drinker, who chain smokes and who's 30 pounds overweight. And his subject is how to control your life. Right? We've both seen it. So I don't know what a life coach is. I don't know why people need life coaches, but I think I'm not surprised these people lost all that money.
What would you suggest if you've got friends that are jumping onto these schemes?
Well, I would suggest you have to ask yourself, what is it you're trying to provide in terms of value and for whom? And then you ask, do I have the skills and the behaviors to do that? And if I don't, can I acquire them? And I have to tell you that I don't think anybody can be a quote unquote life coach or a lifestyle coach or anything like it unless you've lived a life. And so, you can't do this at 25. You're lucky if you can do it at 35. When I was president of a consulting firm up here, a behavioral consulting firm, from which I got fired, my famous background, on the board of directors of this company was the president of the American Psychological Association. And I said to him, why do psychologists in America have the highest rate of suicide among all professions? And he said, because we draw disturbed people. We draw people who want to solve their own problems, and they're often not able to do so. And I think life coaches are trying to solve their own problems. But, in therapy, you pay the therapist. And so the point here is that you can't go into a profession hoping that you'll be cured. You have to go into a profession that provides value to others. So I think there are all kinds of valuable coaches. I think coaching is essential. I don't believe in degrees in coaching and certifications in coaching, but I do believe there are disciplines in coaching. I've never had a consulting assignment where I didn't have to coach. You coach practically every day, I'm sure. But I think when you hang out some kind of metaphoric shingle that says I'm a life coach, I think it's deceptive.
Yeah. Can we talk about certifications for a moment? Because it is a thing that a lot of people will be like, oh, I want to get this, so I'm going to do a certification. It's like to upgrade, it's like the automatic assumption is I need a certification in this. Right. Like I could decide today I'm going to certify people in my workshop blueprint, right? I could seriously make that up myself. No one's going to come over me and say you can't do that or whatever. I just make it up, license it.
Well, you've triggered my favorite certification story.
Okay.
So I knew this woman who was part of an association I belonged to, and she was building a coaching practice. And she said, can I follow you around and watch what you do? And so I let her do that. I introduced her as a colleague. She didn't pay me anything. So she founds a coaching magazine, hard copy at the time, and she promptly names herself Coach of the Year and puts herself on the cover. And it was insanely promotional. And she got herself a spot on Oprah Winfrey. And she was on Oprah Winfrey for probably a year before people began to say, there's no there. But she never did a thing for me except once. She said, thank you so much for allowing me to follow you around. I'd like to offer you some kind of service. What would you like to do that you're not doing? I said, it's not necessary. She said, tell me, you must. I said, well, I'd love to have my own radio show. She said, I'm going to help you. I said, okay. And about 3 days later, I got a card from her, and it said, Alan, for your own radio show, every morning, say this 3 times. I will have a radio show. I will have a radio show. That was the life coach.
What?
Can't make that up.
She was on Oprah, and she was. This isn't the lady that wrote The Secret, right?
No secret.
I mean, she didn't write the book The Secret because that's the whole.
She did not write The Secret. No, that was Sherry.
Yeah. So obviously you didn't write the affirmations, and that's why you don't have the radio show, Alan.
Apparently so.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is so like there are no regulations. I mean, anyone can create the certifications, and that's why it is kind of scary as well. What are the boundaries for your work? Because you do, like I said, when I work with you, it's not just around business. You talk about many different things. And is it because you've got that experience, you've worked with so many people, you have that confidence?
I'm a holistic kind of guy. In other words, we don't have a business life and a personal life. We have a life. Yeah. And we better make everything we do have access to our entirety. And so consequently, you're not going to be successful personally if you're not successful professionally, and vice versa. So, I've had people tell me, I don't call anyone or return email if I'm on a project. Yeah, well, then you might as well live in a hole in the ground. If we can't carry on multiple things at once, we have a problem. And so I find that people have aspirations. I improve their aspirations, and then I help them exceed that, because people don't realize their own strengths. And people have low self-esteem. You'll hear me say that throughout our time together, consistently and constantly. People have low self-esteem as a whole. And so consequently, they don't take prudent risk. They don't exploit what they're good at. They don't blow their own horn.
And something that you've done when I've witnessed your sessions and, been even in Hawaii will say to you, hey, Alan, what's one thing we need to work on? Or it could even be in the space of one day, right? You've had 20 people join you for a one-day workshop. You might not even know all of them. They've asked questions through the day. You have some sense of familiarity over who they are. At the end of the day, though, you can go to each person and say, this is what you need to work on. Like, how the heck do you do that? Because I would love to do that.
A lot of people have asked me that because they can't believe I do it, right?
Yeah.
And the fact is, I can tell each person because I like people. And so I notice things about people. And if I see something that's consistent, I mean, my background is training in critical thinking. And so I can spot distinctions and patterns very easily. So I don't look for one-off things, but if I find somebody doing something consistently, if it's good, I help reinforce it. If it's not good, I help them improve it. And I find that you've got to be absolutely frank and candid with people, or they're not going to believe you. Mm-hmm. We talked at another point about sympathy versus empathy. And empathy is about knowing how people feel. Sympathy is feeling sorry for them. So tough love is empathy without the sympathy. And I think if you're honest with people and you tell them, here's what you do and here's why it's not working, they listen to that, because I don't assume people are damaged. I assume people want to improve.
Yeah. And I think back to being damaged, that's what I find a lot of life coaching people that market themselves, they're basically playing up their own life and assuming other people are damaged. Like, are you not having the life that you wanted? Like that type of, I kind of am allergic to that type of marketing.
Right.
And I think that's why I'm attracted to your work, is because it's like you assume people are generally doing their best, and let's elevate that, as opposed to, oh, I'm better than you and you should listen to me because I'm living this great life, which is all Instagrammable anyway.
Are you ever surprised when you see people who have every opportunity to improve, but they really don't?
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, what's holding them back? And they tend to create things that don't exist. They're holding themselves back.
Yeah, they hold themselves back.
Yeah, so you have to be vulnerable enough to say, I need help. I need somebody to tell me how I can get out of this rut I'm in. But if you don't have high self-esteem, you're going to protect yourself. And you're going to blame somebody else for not getting ahead. It's the boss, it's the technology, it's the competition, it's the society. They're all against me.
Yeah. And you've written a book, Million Dollar Maverick was really around boosting that self-worth. And and in all of your books, you talk about it. Is it just the number one thing? Is just building self-worth? If we were to forget everything else, is it to live a better life? Is it just about growing our self-worth?
Yeah, I have a book coming out in a few months on building communities. And I think the book after that I'm going to work on is building self-worth. It's always been a problem. And as things get more complicated, high tech, pandemic, it gets worse and worse. Now today, people feel they have no control at all or very little. And so self-esteem plummets, Do this with COVID. No, don't do this with COVID. Do that with COVID. No, don't do that with COVID. So you get conflicting scientific comment, conflicting political comment, conflicting normative pressures. And so add in everything we're trying to deal with. There were 2 wars going on in the world. I mean, you add all this together and you say, oh my God. And that's why, by the way, in the United States, I don't know how it was in Australia, this is a very powerful, strong economy here. And people think it's not. People who live here think it's not. But that's because they don't have the self-worth to say, let me take a dispassionate look at things. Instead, they're listening to what they hear on the internet, and they're listening to the media, and the media is always negative because it makes better headlines.
Yeah. We don't have a strong economy as you do over there. So it's rose-colored glasses is quite a good thing to have on at the moment. But on the topic of news, and you say people feel their worth is lowered because of everything that's being hit by us, the war, you listen to the media and that can really affect how you're feeling. So some people, there's sort of 2 schools. Some people just go opt out of news and just stop reading the news and just, wake up and do their thing. But you actually love the news. You love reading it. Are you very selective over what you read and where you read it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I read the Wall Street Journal every day. And I read it physically. I like to bend a newspaper and tear things out and so forth.
Yeah.
And so if I'm on a trip where I can't get the Wall Street Journal for some reason, they get piled up here at home. And when I come back, I read all the back issues that I missed. I don't read them all at once, but I'll read them one a night. It's a pleasure for me because it's such a well-written, informative newspaper. I read the local newspaper because I want to see what's going on in my habitat here. Who's an Eagle Scout and, what team won and lost. I'm very, very selective about the internet because there is no separation in the internet between opinion and fact. And the internet is overwhelmingly about confirmation bias. People want to read only what they believe, and they don't want to read any challenges to what they believe. So that's a dangerous place. I was told long ago, I took some journalism courses in college. I won 8 awards as editor of the school newspaper. And what somebody told me way back then was, listen, Alan, always consider the source. And that's very important information.
Yeah, and that goes to feedback as well, right? Like, don't take unsolicited feedback. Especially it's interesting because I used to take feedback from everyone, and then I heard your advice around that. And it's like, well, I don't actually want to be that person, so why the heck am I listening to them?
I haven't made you a less good person, have I, Leanne? I mean, I don't know.
Do you think I've improved?
I think you've improved tremendously. I think that. No, I'm not just kidding here. I mean, you're significantly different from when we first met, because I think that you were focusing. You weren't as explorative. You were good at what you did, but it was a little bit narrow. I'm trying to be nice here. It's hard for me, but I think now, well, you're the one who got me to go to Brisbane. Yeah,
well, I think you've just like opened the floodgates. I think maybe there was some potential in me to do that, but I just didn't have that. I was told like niche down and like do this, but you're like, no, you can live this. I mean, I actually like the fact that you drive a convertible. I've always wanted one, but I thought it was a bit whatever. Anyway, I've got a convertible now. And my revenue like doubled the second after I bought that. My revenue just doubled. Is there anything in that? Would your life coach tell you that was this?
Yeah, right. Well, listen, I have 3 convertibles, so we have to get you up there.
I love, honestly, like the convertible. It's been the biggest thing. I call it my mental health car.
Yeah,
it's just the best thing ever. Especially in Brisbane, all year round, you can just go cruising in it.
You're right. I get maybe 5 months out of them, and then I have to keep the tops up. But yeah. So it's still worth it for me.
Yeah, totally. Hey, I'm just going to share one more article. You talked about the Wall Street Journal. This was in the Wall Street Journal recently. I've got a subscription. I really enjoy reading it too. So I don't know if you can see that headline there, but the don't you dare call me without texting first.
Right.
I thought it would be a fun one to riff on, given that we are of different ages. I completely agreed with this. I love getting a text message or a heads up before someone calls me. What do you think?
Wait, first, before I reply, why is that?
I just like having a heads up that I'll need to be on a call, or I can anticipate some time to put against it. I don't really like being interrupted or my flow stopping or being unprepared, I guess. Well,
my feeling is that I'm really flexible. I can get a lot of things done. So if I have a landline phone here as well as my cell phone, because, if the cells go out, I got a landline phone. So if a phone rings, and I have an answering service for my business, but if our personal line rings, I could look at the number and weed people out. This is somebody I want to talk to. But, if it's a workman doing work around the house, if it's somebody who wants, a friend who needs some kind of advice from me, I'll pick it up and talk, because I'm also capable of ending calls. And so I don't allow myself to get dragged into things. I was just talking in this workshop I did this week about how you successfully and positively interrupt a buyer, and you can't let the buyer wander off into the desert. So if you text me and then call me, I feel you're taking twice the time.
Really?
One thing, yeah. So why take twice the time? Just pick up the phone and call me. It's my choice whether to answer it, right? It's my choice how long I talk to you. I feel empowered. I can control this. I don't need a text to get ready. I mean, what are you going to do? Email me to tell me you're going to text me, to tell me you're going to Instagram me, to tell me you're going to call me? Look, I mean, by that time I'm asleep.
Well, I just thought, like, if I text you before I call you, that's a really nice thing I'm doing for you. Like, that's a gift.
No, it isn't.
It's a gift. In my mind. Well, in my mind. Fine. In my millennial mind.
So you're giving me a gift that I don't appreciate. So it's not really a gift. I mean, it's like you saying, I have some wonderful coal. I want to give you coal. Here's a bucket of coal. And I gave Alan coal. I can't use coal. Why do I want coal? So,
but I think you've nailed it. It's about, you have the power. You're very good at, you find it empowering, and you can get off the line quickly. Yeah. For me, I'm like, I look at this and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a 20-minute call. And I'm like, I can't afford to give up 20 minutes right now.
Okay, wait, stop there. So which of us has to improve the best? Do I have to improve by taking a text and taking an Instagram and taking a TikTok to take a call. It's not to improve by realizing you can say to somebody, hey, I'm sorry, I need to stop you here. I have to go.
Yeah, I think we know the answer to that.
Which is a skill you can use not just on the phone.
That's true. Exactly. Maybe it's something I need to work on. What I found very funny about this article, I don't know if you read it. Someone wrote there, she was talking about my generation and how we're so narcissistic that we're so busy we can't accept a 2-minute phone call. And I was like, that's pretty fun. But it is true. Like it's the flow. It's, I don't know, something about it. It's a weird medium. And I know when you talk to us, like, get on the phone and call people. But yeah, sometimes with buyers, I'll be like, hey, giving you a heads up, or text them. And it's like, maybe I should just get used to.
There's a philosopher named George Santayana. And Santayana said, the definition of a fanatic is someone who loses sight of their goals and consequently redoubles their efforts.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Alan, been really fun talking with you on episode 1, our pilot. How do you think we went? I think we went very well. And if people might not agree with that, but the hell with that. I think it went well. And as long as we're happy, it's all that matters. I mean, they're not paying to be here. No, enjoy the show. Let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to riff on in future. We'll definitely keep our eyes out on the news and see what's going on so we can riff on that in this show. Have a lovely good night, Alan. Have a lovely day, Leanne. And to all of you, have a great day.